Every one of us carries a hidden oracle within, a quiet yet unshakable power that shapes the course of our lives. This oracle doesn't speak in riddles or through cards and crystals. It speaks through our thoughts, our assumptions, and the stories we dare to believe about ourselves. When you look at your life today, you are not simply seeing random events or accidents of fate. You are seeing a reflection of the images you've carried within. Your imagination is not child's play. It is creation in motion. It is the workshop where the invisible becomes visible, where the seed of thought grows into the fruit of experience. Your imagination is the blueprint of your reality. That simple line carries the weight of worlds, for it reveals that everything you experience in your outer life first took shape in the inner realm of thought and vision. Imagination is not some fleeting daydream or idle fantasy. It is the architect's table of the soul, where invisible sketches are drawn long before the physical walls of experience rise around you. Every invention, every work of art, every relationship, every success or failure, all of it begins with the silent brushstrokes of imagination. Consider the way an architect works. Before a single brick is laid, there exists a blueprint. That blueprint dictates where the doors will open, where the windows will shine, and how the structure will stand. Without the design, there can be no creation. In the same way, your life unfolds according to the mental blueprint you hold within. Whether you are conscious of it or not, the patterns of your imagination are continually constructing the framework of your reality. Think of the great advancements humanity has seen. The light bulb did not appear because wires and glass magically fused. It appeared first in the minds who dared to imagine a world lit without candles or gas lamps. Airplanes did not exist because wood and metal somehow wanted to fly. They came into being because someone imagined that the sky could be conquered. Every leap forward in human history has always preceded by someone's inner vision. This proves that imagination is not fiction. It is the seed of fact. But here lies the deeper to imagination. It does not only apply to inventions or scientific breakthroughs. It applies to the fabric of your daily life, the relationships you hold, the career you pursue, the health you maintain, even the challenges you face. Each is shaped by the images and assumptions you persistently carry. If you constantly imagine yourself unlucky, unworthy, or destined to fail, then your life faithfully mirrors those assumptions. If, instead, you dare to imagine yourself successful, confident, and loved, your outer world bends to that inner vision. Imagination is the silent author of experience. Every self-concept you carry is nothing but an image fixed in your mind. A person who believes they are powerless imagines themselves as weak in every situation, and life obediently reflects back circumstances to prove them right. Another person who imagines themselves powerful finds opportunities, allies, and strength appearing everywhere. The difference between the two is not luck, but the blueprint of imagination that each chose to live from. This explains why people who grow up in the same environment can lead such different lives. One sibling may see endless barriers, constantly rehearsing images of failure, while the other imagines possibility and steps into success. The outer conditions were the same, but the inner blueprint was vastly different. Imagination does not care about where you come from, what your background is, or what circumstances surround you. It only responds to what you dare to picture and accept as true within. To grasp the power of imagination, you must first become aware of your inner dialogue. Every day you rehearse conversations in your mind. You imagine outcomes before they happen. You picture yourself in roles, in situations, in futures that may or may not exist yet. This mental rehearsal is not wasted energy. It is the creative act itself. If you constantly picture negative outcomes, you are drafting a blueprint of disappointment. If you instead train yourself to imagine the end you desire, feeling it real within, you are drafting a blueprint of success. The outer world cannot but conform to the inner design. The secret lies in persistence. A single moment of imagination may not alter much, just as a single sketch does not construct a building. But when the blueprint is redrawn over and over with conviction, when the picture in your mind becomes fixed and lived in, Then the outer structure begins to rise. Life must follow the lines you've repeated in your imagination. This is why visualization is such a powerful tool. To imagine is not to wish. It is to step into a reality inwardly with such conviction that the subconscious accepts it as already true. And once the subconscious accepts, the outer world aligns. Athletes use this to perfect their performance. They rehearse victories in their imagination until their body and mind respond as though the victory were already achieved. In the same way, you can rehearse health, love, success, and joy until your entire being aligns with that vision. Even your past is not immune to imagination. Memories are images fixed in mind, and by revising those images, you change the meaning and impact they hold. If you have carried a past of pain, you can reimagine it differently, not to erase what happened, but to alter the emotional blueprint that still dictates your present. By reshaping the image of the past, you free yourself to imagine a brighter future. Imagination, therefore, is not a luxury. It is the essence of creation itself. To live unconsciously is to let random fears, doubts, and old images dictate your blueprint. To live consciously is to deliberately choose the visions that will become your reality. Your imagination is not asking whether you deserve it, whether it's possible, or whether the world will approve. It is only asking what picture will you persist in drawing within. Because whatever that picture is, it will become the structure of your life. What you assume with conviction becomes the seed of tomorrow. Assumption is not a shallow thought that drifts in and out of the mind. It is the deep-rooted belief that anchors itself in your consciousness and quietly directs the unfolding of your experiences. Life is not shaped merely by the things you want or the words you say. It is shaped by what you deeply assume to be true. An assumption is like planting a seed in the fertile soil of the subconscious mind, and with persistence, that seed grows into the reality you encounter. Think for a moment about the subtle power of conviction. A casual idea may come and go without leaving much trace, but the assumption held with certainty embeds itself within. Conviction transforms a fleeting thought into a creative force. When you assume something as already real, your mind, emotions, and actions align with that assumption. You no longer move as a seeker, but as one who already possesses. This inner posture sends out signals that reshape your outer world to match the inner belief. Every great achievement, every fulfilled dream, every breakthrough in history began with assumption. The pioneers who dared to fly assumed with conviction that man could conquer the skies, even when the world laughed at them. They did not merely hope. They lived from the inner conviction that it was possible, and that conviction shaped their actions until wings lifted off the ground. Similarly, when someone assumes success in business, love, or health, and holds to that assumption with certainty, the world gradually rearranges itself to reflect that inner stance. The reverse is equally true. Assumptions of failure, limitation, and defeat are also seeds, and when planted with conviction, they too grow. A person who assumes they are unlucky will, without realizing it, attract circumstances that validate that belief. They interpret neutral events as proof of misfortune, and thus water the seed of their own downfall. Assumption does not discriminate between positive and negative. It faithfully produces whatever is sown into the subconscious. This is why self-concept is everything. How you see yourself, what you assume about your identity, becomes the foundation for every experience. If you assume you are confident, opportunities appear that allow you to express that confidence. If you assume you are weak, life hands you scenarios that reinforce your weakness. You are never dealing with the world directly. You are always dealing with your assumptions about the world, and life mirrors them back to you. Conviction turns assumption into reality through the power of persistence. A seed does not sprout overnight. It must be watered, nurtured, and protected from doubt. In the same way, an assumption must be revisited and reinforced until it becomes the natural state of mind. When you hold to it despite appearances, when you persist in the unseen reality with unwavering certainty, you accelerate its manifestation. Conviction is the watering can that feeds the seed until it grows strong enough to break through the soil of circumstance. Think of the way athletes train. Before stepping into competition, they often assume their victory with conviction. They see themselves winning, feel the joy of triumph, and carry the posture of champions long before the game begins. This assumption directs their performance, sharpens their focus, and tunes their entire being toward success. By the time they step into the arena, they are already living from the end result, and the outer outcome reflects the inner certainty. Everyday life operates the same way. When you assume with conviction that a conversation will go well, you carry yourself differently. Your tone is confident, your body language relaxed, your energy magnetic. The other person unconsciously responds to that conviction, and the conversation unfolds smoothly. If you assume the opposite, expecting conflict or rejection, your nervousness shows, your words falter, and your energy pushes the other person away. The outcome you feared comes alive, not because of faith, but because of assumption. Even the smallest assumptions carry seeds of tomorrow. Assume you will have a bad day, and you begin noticing irritations, delays, and frustrations everywhere. Assume you will have a good day, and suddenly opportunities, kindness, and small joys appear. The day itself is neutral. It is your assumption that paints the canvas. Over time, the repeated assumptions you hold become the dominant patterns of your life. Conviction is so powerful because it bypasses doubt. To assume with conviction is to live as though the outcome were already secured. You are no longer wishing for it, you are embodying it. This embodiment signals to your subconscious that the assumption is reality, and the subconscious, in turn, influences everything you perceive and attract. Your behavior shifts, your choices align, your awareness sharpens, and the world responds to the vibration of certainty you carry. The garden of your mind is always in bloom with assumptions. Some are inherited from childhood, absorbed from parents, teachers, and society. Others are self-chosen, cultivated through deliberate thought and imagination. But whether chosen or unconscious, every assumption eventually produces fruit. If you do not like the fruit you are reaping, it is not the soil that is to blame. It is the seed you planted with conviction. The gift is that you can always plant anew. You can uproot assumptions of failure and replace them with convictions of success. You can replace the seed of fear with the seed of courage, the seed of lack with the seed of abundance, the seed of loneliness with the seed of love. The process begins in the inner world of assumption, and with persistence, the outer world conforms. Life has no choice but to reflect the conviction you hold most deeply, for assumption is creation in motion. The inner dialogue you repeat creates the outer script you live. Every person walks through life accompanied by a voice that never goes silent, a voice that whispers, argues, affirms, or condemns. This voice is not merely background noise. It is the author of the reality you experience. What you continually say to yourself in the privacy of your mind eventually echoes in the stage play of your life. The human mind is like a theater, constantly rehearsing lines long before the curtain rises. In this inner theater, you play out conversations with others, imagine outcomes, and relive past events. Each time you do this, you strengthen a particular narrative. If your inner dialogue is filled with fear, criticism, and doubt, then your outer script mirrors that story, drawing experiences that validate those inner words. If your inner dialogue is filled with confidence, faith, and self-affirmation, then your outer script reflects opportunity, success, and harmony. The subconscious mind does not differentiate between imagination and reality. It only accepts the impressions fed to it through repetition and feeling. When you repeat negative inner dialogue such as, "I can't do this," "people don't respect me," or "I always fail," the subconscious treats these as instructions. It begins to filter your perceptions, highlight experiences, and attract circumstances that confirm the dialogue. This is why people often feel trapped in cycles of failure or disappointment. They are unknowingly repeating the same script within, and the world obediently follows their lines. Consider someone preparing for a job interview. If their inner dialogue is, "I'm not good enough," "They won't hire me, I'll mess this up," they walk into the interview carrying the energy of insecurity. Their posture weakens, their voice trembles, and their answers lack conviction. The interviewer, responding unconsciously to this energy, interprets it as lack of confidence, and the outcome aligns with the inner script. Contrast this with someone whose inner dialogue is, I am capable, they will see my value, this job is mine. That conviction shapes their tone, their body language, their presence. The interviewer perceives them as confident and competent, and the result often matches the inner dialogue. The outer world is a mirror, reflecting the conversations you hold within yourself. Relationships especially reveal this truth. If you constantly think, they don't care about me, they'll leave me, I'm unlovable, then every gesture from your partner will be interpreted through that filter, and soon the relationship crumbles under the weight of your inner assumptions. But if you carry the inner dialogue, I am loved, I am valued, I am worthy, you project security, warmth, and openness, which invites others to respond with affection and respect. The relationship flourishes because the script you rehearse directs the play of interaction. Inner dialogue also shapes the way you interpret neutral events. Imagine two people stuck in traffic. One repeats in their mind, this always happened to me. Life is against me. I'll be late and ruined. Their stress rises. Their health suffers, and they arrive defeated before even stepping into their destination. The other person repeats, this gives me time to think, to breathe, to listen to music. Their body relaxes. They arrive calm, and often delay turns out insignificant. The traffic was the same, but the inner dialogue created two entirely different scripts. This is why affirmations and mental rehearsals are powerful tools. By deliberately choosing and repeating inner dialogues that align with your desired outcomes, you rewrite the script before the play begins. Instead of unconsciously recycling old dialogues of fear and limitation, you consciously introduce new dialogues of success and fulfillment. Over time, these repetitions sink into the subconscious, becoming automatic, and your outer life adjusts accordingly. Athletes understand this principle well. They often rehearse victories in their mind, speaking to themselves words of confidence and focus. Their inner dialogue is not left to chance. It is cultivated like training the body. They know that the performance in the outer arena is only a reflection of the performance in the inner one. The same holds true in every area of life, whether in business, relationships, health, or creativity. The dialogue you are to dominate within is the rehearsal for the reality you live without. The danger of neglecting your inner dialogue is that it becomes shaped by old conditioning. Many people carry voices from childhood, teachers, parents, or peers who once told them they weren't good enough, smart enough, or worthy. These voices echo as internal dialogues long after the original speakers are gone. If unchallenged, they become the default script, and life continues to mirror the old rules. But when you become aware, you gain the power to interrupt these dialogues and replace them with new ones of empowerment. Awareness is the first step. Begin to observe the voice within as though you are listening to someone else speak. Notice the phrases that repeat most often. Are they supportive or destructive? Do they affirm your worth or diminish it? Once you identify the recurring dialogues, you can deliberately shift them. When the old dialogue whispers, I always fail, you can consciously replace it with, I am learning, growing, and succeeding. Repetition of the new dialogue eventually silences the old one, planting a new script for life to follow. The inner dialogue also shapes identity itself. Who you believe you are is nothing but a conversation repeated often enough to feel real. If you constantly say to yourself, I'm shy, I'm unlucky, I'm broken, then that becomes your role in the play of life. But if you begin saying, I am confident, I am fortunate, I am whole, and repeat it with conviction, your actions and perceptions begin to align with this new identity. You literally talk yourself into becoming a new character, and the world adjusts the storyline to fit. Every day, you are both the actor and the playwright. The script is not handed to you by chance or fate. It is written line by line in the dialogue you repeat within. You cannot speak defeat inwardly and live triumph outwardly. You cannot repeat lack within and experience abundance without. The voice within holds the pen, and the world is compelled to perform what you have written. Faith is not hope. It is the daring acceptance of what is unseen as already true. Hope looks toward the future, stretching its hand into the unknown with a wish that something good may happen. Faith, however, is a different posture of mind. It is the bold decision to stand in the unseen, as if it were already here. Faith refuses to wait for evidence before it believes. It embraces the invisible reality as though it were visible, and in doing so it calls the unseen into form. Hope says, one day, perhaps, things will change. Faith says, it is so now. Hope is a longing for tomorrow. Faith is the possession of today. Hope is the seed of desire. Faith is the fruit already tasted within. When you live in hope, you live in waiting. When you live in faith, you live in fulfillment. Faith does not ignore appearances. It simply refuses to be dictated by them. Appearances show you what has been, not what must be. Faith sees beyond the evidence of the senses and declares a higher truth. Imagine standing in a barren field, no crops in sight. Hope wishes that one day there will be harvest. Faith sees the invisible harvest already present and acts in alignment with it, watering, tending, and preparing as if the field were already full. Soon enough, the unseen becomes seen, because faith always finds a way to make itself visible. This daring acceptance of the unseen is what gives faith its creative power. To accept something as already true, even before the senses confirm it, is to impress it upon the subconscious mind. The subconscious, accepting this conviction, begins to shape behavior, perception, and circumstances to align with the accepted truth. A person who has faith in their success moves with confidence, makes bold decisions, and notices opportunities others overlook. Their actions align with their inner conviction, and the world mirrors that conviction back. Consider the difference between people seeking healing. One hopes they will get better, waiting anxiously for symptoms to change, measuring progress by what they can see. Their emotional state rises and falls with each new sign. The other accepts within themselves that healing is already accomplished. They walk, speak, and think from that state of wholeness, even if symptoms linger. That acceptance strengthens their body and spirit, aligning them with restoration. The outcome they experience is shaped not by chance but by the level of faith they dare to hold. Faith requires courage because it asks you to stand firm in a reality invisible to others. It is daring because it may contradict logic, appearances, and the opinions of those around you. To accept the unseen as true is to walk a path that others may call delusion, but history shows us that every great achievement, invention, or transformation was born of such faith. The pioneers who imagined crossing oceans, flying through skies, or exploring space held faith in what was unseen and unheard of. They accepted it as true within themselves, and the world eventually caught up to their conviction. Faith is not. Faith is alignment with the unseen reality. To believe something is already true is to live from that state now. If you have faith in abundance, you carry yourself as though lack were impossible. If you have faith in love, you embody warmth and openness even before a partner appears. If you have faith in success, you walk with the certainty of one who has already arrived. This embodiment sends signals to the subconscious and the environment, drawing circumstances that confirm what you already accepted as true. Hope waits for doors to open. Faith walks as though the doors are already open, and in walking discovers that they are. Hope wishes for opportunities. Faith acts from the reality that opportunities are already here, and in doing so uncovers them. Hope asks, will it happen? Faith declares, it has happened. The shift may seem small, but it is the difference between waiting and receiving, between longing and creating. Even in the realm of relationships, faith changes everything. Someone who hopes to be loved often acts from insecurity, seeking validation and fearing rejection. Their very behavior pushes others away. Someone who accepts with faith that they are already loved radiates confidence and joy, attracting affection naturally. The outer experience mirrors the inner acceptance. Faith does not demand love from others. It creates the atmosphere where love flows effortlessly. The daring acceptance of the unseen through also frees you from the bondage of time. Hope always projects fulfillment into the future someday. Somehow it will come. Faith anchors fulfillment in the present. It is so now. This shift collapses the waiting game. You no longer postpone joy, peace, or confidence until circumstances change. You claim them inwardly, live them outwardly, and circumstances eventually bend to match your inner state. Faith also has the unique power to revise the past. While hope only looks forward, faith dares to reinterpret what has already happened. It accepts that the meaning of past events can be rewritten in the present, transforming wounds into wisdom and failures into stepping stones. By accepting a new story as true, even about what has already passed, faith changes the emotional blueprint that shapes the future. The unseen is not unreal. Sin is not yet visible. Everything that exists was once unseen. The chair you sit on, the technology you use, the ideas you embrace, all began as unseen realities in the mind of someone who accepted them as true. Faith is the bridge that carries the unseen into visibility. Without it, desires remain dreams. With it, dreams become facts. To practice faith is to train the mind to dwell in the unseen, as though it were the only reality. This is not pretending or forcing. It is choosing to accept a truth higher than appearances. It is choosing to say, though I do not see it with my eyes, I accept it with my inner vision. That acceptance shifts energy, directs focus, and sets in motion the invisible machinery that builds reality around you. Faith is not the timid whisper of hope, but the bold voice of certainty. It is not the waiting of tomorrow, but the possession of today. It is the daring acceptance of the invisible as the only truth worth standing on. And in that acceptance lies the seed of every transformation you will ever know. Your state of consciousness determines what you attract and experience. Consciousness is not a vague spiritual term. It is the very awareness and vibration you carry in each moment. It is the lens through which you see the world, the frequency that colors your thoughts, and the atmosphere that surrounds your being. Every person lies within a state of consciousness, and that state serves as a magnet, pulling in experiences, people, and circumstances that harmonize with it. Consciousness can be thought of as the climate of your inner world. Just as weather patterns dictate the kind of environment you step into outdoors, your state of consciousness dictates the kind of reality you step into in life. If your consciousness is clouded with fear, scarcity, and doubt, the experiences you encounter will reflect those qualities. If your consciousness is bright with confidence, love, and abundance, the experiences you attract will match that radiance. Life is never random. It is always a mirror of the state you occupy. Imagine two people walking into the same crowded room. One is in a state of insecurity. Their inner world whispers, I don't belong here. People are judging me. I am out of place. Because that is their state. They notice glances that confirm their fear. They interpret neutral expressions as criticism. And they leave the room convinced of their unworthiness. Another person enters in a state of confidence. Their inner world says, I am welcome. I have something to offer. People enjoy my presence. Their attention naturally gravitates to friendly faces. They interpret interactions as supportive, and they leave the room feeling valued. Both walked into the same room, but their experiences were worlds apart, dictated not by the room itself, but by their state of consciousness. Your state of consciousness also determines the meaning you assign to events. Suppose you lose a job. If suppose you is lose in fear, you interpret it as disaster, a confirmation of failure, a reason to give up. If your state is rooted in faith and abundance, you interpret it as opportunity, a doorway to something better, a signal that life is moving you forward. The outer event is identical, but the inner state dictates whether it becomes a stumbling block or a stepping stone. Consciousness is creative because it shapes not only perception but also attraction. Like frequencies attract like frequencies. A state of lack attracts more lack because your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors align with scarcity, causing you to overlook opportunities and settle for less. A state of abundance attracts more abundance because your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors align with prosperity. making you receptive to possibilities others cannot see. This is why two people with the same resources and background can live entirely different lives. Their outer circumstances may begin the same, but their inner states attract divergent realities. Every desire you hold is calling you into a higher state of consciousness. If you desire love, you must shift into the state of being loved, seeing yourself as worthy, whole, and magnetic. If you desire wealth, you must shift into the state of abundance, feeling prosperous, capable, and resourceful. If you desire peace, you must shift into the state of harmony, releasing inner conflict and dwelling in calm. The outer result is not created by forcing circumstances, but by embodying the state that matches the result. The challenge is that many live unconsciously, repeating old states inherited from childhood or shaped by trauma. Someone who grew up hearing they were unworthy may carry a state of lack for decades, attracting experiences that confirm that belief. Someone who experienced abandonment may carry a state of rejection, unconsciously attracting relationships that replay that script. Until one becomes aware of the state they live in, they remain bound to its cycle. Awareness is the doorway to transformation because you cannot change a state you do not recognize. Once you become aware, you can deliberately shift your state of consciousness. This is not about pretending or forcing, but about choosing where to dwell inwardly. You can quiet your mind, imagine the reality you desire, and feel the motives of already living in it. By sustaining that feeling, you step into a new state, and once the state is assumed, life begins to rearrange itself. The subconscious mind accepts the new state as real, and your actions, perceptions, and attractions follow suit. Consider how often people sabotage themselves, not because of lack of ability, but because of the state they occupy. A person in a state of failure may overlook opportunities, dismiss their talents, and settle for less. Another in a state of success seizes the same opportunities, trusts their abilities, and persists until the outcome matches their conviction. The difference lies not in luck, but in the state of consciousness they carried. The state you choose to dwell in also affects others around you. A person in a state of joy uplifts those they meet, attracting kindness and cooperation. A person in a state of bitterness repels others, attracting conflict and resistance. People are constantly responding not just to your words and actions, but to the vibration of your state. Without saying a word, your state communicates itself and invites corresponding responses. Even time and memory bend to the state of consciousness. When you dwell in regret, you attract reminders of the past that keep you stuck. When you dwell in possibility, you attract ideas and people that propel you forward. The state is like a filter. Choose despair, and you see reasons to despair everywhere. Choose hope, and you see reasons to hope everywhere. The outer world bends itself to confirm the inner state, as though reality were conspiring to agree with you. Your state of consciousness is the silent stage on which life plays its scenes. Change the state, and the play changes. Remain in the same state, and the scenes repeat themselves with new characters, but the same theme. To attract different experiences, you must become different inwardly. The state of consciousness you live in is the soil, and every experience you encounter, the harvest of what you allowed to be planted there. The greatest power lies in revising your past in thought to reshape your future. Memory is not fixed stone, but living clay, soft and malleable to the touch of imagination. The moments you call your past are not locked away in some unchangeable vault. They exist as impressions within your mind, and impressions can be rewritten. Most people live bound to memories as though they were chains, reliving old hurts, repeating old stories, and allowing those recollections to dictate their present choices and future possibilities. But the truth is that the past you carry is not the event itself. It is the meaning you gave it, and meaning can always be changed. Every experience you remember is filtered through perception. Two people can go through the same event and carry away entirely different interpretations. One sees rejection and closes their heart, while the other sees redirection and grows stronger. The event may have been the same, but the inner story written about it became the seed of their future experiences. Revising the past means going back in thought and giving yourself a new story, one that empowers rather than imprisons. By doing this, you are not erasing history. You are reshaping the blueprint that continues to influence your present and future. Consider someone who remembers a childhood moment of failure. Perhaps they stood in front of a classroom, stumbled over words, and heard laughter. If that memory is left unexamined, it becomes a seed of insecurity. Every time they face public speaking as an adult, that old memory whispers, "You are not good at this." People will laugh again. Their future unfolds in the shadow of a moment long gone. But if they revisit the scene in imagination, altering it so that the class responds with support, the teacher smiles with encouragement, and they feel confident delivering their words, the emotional weight of the memory changes. That revision breaks the chain of insecurity, and they can now approach the future with confidence. The subconscious mind cannot distinguish between an actual event and a vividly imagined one. When you revise a past memory, the subconscious accepts the new image as true. This changes your emotional patterns, your self-concept, and your automatic responses. If your subconscious carries the memory of being unloved, you may unconsciously sabotage relationships. But if you revise those memories, seeing yourself cherished, supported, and valued, your subconscious adopts that new pattern, and you begin to attract and create relationships that mirror it. Revising the past also heals emotional wounds that otherwise fester for years. Many carry resentment, regret, or shame from past experiences, dragging those emotions into every new day. These emotions color perception, turning neutral interactions into reminders of pain. But when you revise the past in thought, you release the emotional charge. You are no longer held hostage by anger or sorrow, because the memory no longer carries the same meaning. Forgiveness becomes possible, not by forcing yourself to forget, but by giving yourself a new inner version of the event. This practice of revision empowers you to see every difficulty as an opportunity for transformation. Instead of replaying betrayal, you can revise it as a moment of awakening that showed you your strength. Instead of reliving loss, you can revise it as a moment of deeper love and connection that still sustains you. Instead of replaying rejection, you can revise it as a doorway that redirected you towards something greater. Each time you revise, you are not lying to yourself. You are aligning with the truth that meaning is never fixed, and you have the authority to decide what story your life will tell. The future is born from the seeds of the past. If you leave old memories untouched, they continue to plant the same seeds, and tomorrow looks much like yesterday. But when you revise, you plant new seeds. You tell your subconscious, "This is who I am. This is what I experienced. This is the story I live by." From that new soil grows a new future. Revision is not about denying pain, but about refusing to let pain dictate what comes next. It is about reclaiming authorship of your life. Think of the countless people who carry shame from mistakes they made. Their inner dialogue repeats, "I failed. I ruined everything I cannot recover." That memory becomes the script of their life. Yet, when revision is applied, they can reimagine that moment as a lesson, a catalyst, a stepping stone. They can see themselves in thought making wiser choices, experiencing better outcomes, and from that revision comes a new sense of possibility. They no longer approach life as condemned failures, but as renewed creators. Even collective experiences can be revised. Families often pass down stories of hardship, limitation, or struggle. These stories become inherited identities, binding generations to the same cycles. But when one person revises the family story in imagination, seeing their ancestors as strong, resourceful, victorious, the entire sense of identity shifts. That person no longer carries limitation, but pride and empowerment, and they pass a different story forward. Revision, therefore, is not only personal, but generational. The mind does not live in past, present, or future. It lives in imagination, which can travel to any point in time. By using imagination to return to the past and reshape it, you harness the power to reshape the present moment and the unfolding of the future. You become free of the old narratives that once dictated your identity, and you step into new versions of yourself. Life stops being a repetition of yesterday and becomes an open canvas. The greatest power lies not in controlling outer circumstances, but in revising the inner script that fuels them. Every memory is a doorway, and every doorway can be repainted. By revisiting scenes in thought and giving them a new outcome, you set your subconscious free from the prison of old impressions. And when the subconscious is free, it creates new experiences that align with the revised story. The past no longer drags you backward. It becomes fuel for a future written by choice rather than chance. So I ask you, are you ready to unlock your inner oracle? Are you ready to take the pen from chance and place it in the hands of your imagination? If you dare to assume, dare to believe, and dare to persist, the oracle within you will reveal its secrets. And those secrets will show you that the future is not something you wait for, it is something you create. Thank you.